And we're live, back again, folks. This is Lit Literature, your host, JP, aka The Demon, and we are talking what we believe to be the final discussion, at least for now, until we revisit it, on The Dark Tower, the final book of The Dark Tower by Stephen King. And you're here with the usual crew, starting with the director.
The director, yes. I am here. I just walked through the front door, and I am ready to start reading The Gunslinger. I'm really excited to finally read this book series. I've been looking forward to it. I've been hearing Jeff talk about it for a while, and it's time to get this thing going. Let's go. I'm excited to see what this is all about.
Director, do you have a horn in your hand, perchance?
I do, but I can't show you because we'll get banned.
Yes.
Oh, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. We also have, of course, the captain.
Yes, today I'm joining you guys. It's really snowy here, really cold. I'm in northern Arizona up in Flagstaff, a lot of snow. I see a snowy cabin up ahead. There's a really gaunt-looking horse over there. It looks really malnourished, but there's a dude sprinkling gumdrops everywhere, so what's not to love? I'm going in.
Amazing. Oh, and we got
Tip Man here with a pocket full of gumdrops.
He was just sprinkling them on the ground.
I'm just feeling a little bit hungry.
Uh-oh.
Amazing. All right, folks. Continuation of our last episode. Before we jump to what you can tell, we are probably very excited to talk about.
Yes.
I would like to go quickly back to where we left off because I loved the scene and I had completely forgotten about it, where Susanna and Roland were running away in the dark tunnels from a toad ash monster that reminded me very much of a Tremor.
Yes.
From the movie Tremor.
It's a good movie.
And I want to talk about this. So I'm not sure what you guys thought in terms of just the monster type or this scene in general. But before we leave it in the wayside, I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on it.
Yeah,
That's all.
This was definitely King at his finest. Getting back to his bread and butter, which is horror. Oh my god, dude. So awesome. I love the subtle, creepy buildup of Roland and Susanna and Oi going down this dark tunnel, and Susanna gets the inkling that something might be following them, but she's like, probably not. It's probably just this place falling apart, and it gets subtly more and more obvious that something is in fact following them, and very quickly it ramps up like, oh dear God, there's an enormous monster following us.
The thing is, I thought it was Mordred. Because he's been following them all this time, and he's staying far enough back, but it was not.
I wonder if that was the intention.
Mordred at all.
All I know is I got the best visual when they're like walking through this hallway of censored lights. And they're like turning on by them, and then as they get a certain length, they're kind of like shutting off based on the time.
Oh, man, that
and it's like
so
allowing
cool.
them to like kind of just like creep up, and that just was awesome because I just, they're walking, and then it's like they're turning on, and the lights are turning off, and then they start to hear stuff, and then they start to notice that as the lights are turning off, they're hearing more, and they start to walk faster, and they're walking faster, and then by the end of it, they're like, holy shit, and then they see up ahead, the lights aren't working anymore.
So I have a confession to make. I don't remember this scene at all.
Oh, it was awesome.
And I'm really bummed that you guys loved it so much because I don't think I read it.
Yeah. I wanted to visit this because this scene, I was reading it, and I didn't remember the first time, but this time, I'm like, oh, my visuals are so good in this part. This would make an amazing horror scene in any movie. Like, hardcore, amazing horror scene.
Yeah.
I thought.
Dude, anyway. I was terrified. At one point they mentioned like the enormous millipede monster can just whip out and grab Oi in a second. And it's like, no, don't do that. I really don't want that to happen.
Oh, it was good, dude. The tension was good. And as Ben mentioned, Susanna was right.
Yes.
Because she was able to save him with their cans of starts with an S material that's flammable
couldn't
that we
find it.
forgot.
I used as a fire starter.
I could probably find it in here.
Just call it the starter.
The starter,
Starts with an
yeah.
S. Starter.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
they
so
were
good.
able, once she saw the light, they found out that the corridor was lined with bones.
Yes.
Ooh.
Just
Yeah.
bones everywhere, and they were able to use those bones to make torches to save them. But
yeah, she used the bones as torches. That was pretty
yeah,
dope.
one of the most intense scenes in that actually was when Roland was running with Susanna on her back, and she's just thinking like, how can he keep his pace up? How can he see in the dark? And he just like almost trips a couple times, and he recovers, and then he's like, his heart's gonna explode. He's just gonna die. And they finally get some more light, and then Roman's like, I can't. Like, he doesn't ever say he can't run anymore, but he's just like walking like at his fast pace because he gave everything to get out of that.
Poor Roland.
I know, he's so old.
Okay,
been
I
doing it for
found
so
the name
long.
of that product.
Yes, I was just looking for it.
What is it? I
It's
looked for it.
Sterno.
Yes, Sterno! Oh my god, I was
Is
looking
that a
for
product of the Sombra Corporation?
it. Dude.
No, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's real, Sterno.
Yeah,
I got-
I don't know what's the.
I think
I
it's
gotta
real.
tell you guys.
Never heard of it
and for those of you who are listening online, first of all, because I was audiobooking this last session, though the first time I read it, I read the book session. I gotta say, chapter titles phenomenal. And we do know them; they say them, but the fact that it's at the top of all the pages, a lot of the pages, is awesome. Some of the artwork
Got some sweet art.
is just fucking dope.
Yeah, it's
With
cool.
that's,
Mordred.
Mordred, yeah.
Yeah, just super cool stuff that is just,
Shane.
you know, or the Crimson King and his skull tower. Or
You
his
mean
skull
Santa
throne,
Claus?
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
baby.
like there's some cool stuff in here that it just like I realized like, oh man, the White Lands of Empathica. We'll get there.
Yeah, we're getting
Anyway,
there.
folks,
For the record, Sterno
there-
is a real thing. It's a flammable gel. It's kind of fallen out of use nowadays, but it was really big in like the early 1900s.
Is that like that same stuff that they use for catering?
Not sure. It might
I
be.
wonder. Anyway, it's not important. Let's move on.
but anyway,
I don't know why I would even ask that.
without Roland having a heart attack and basically running to his insane. By the way, I have a lot of respect for this next long while because it's not until almost the very end of the book that Roland is not dragging or carrying Susanna.
Yeah.
So the one character that lives is the most handicapped out of all of them. And not that she is, in a way, because she's badass in all of her other ways. However, Roland is legitimately carrying her the whole way.
Piggyback style,
That's
right?
insane.
They're gonna run
Piggyback
into a
or on a
Reverse
sled.
piggyback.
Yeah, dragon.
when they make this into a show, they're gonna probably run into a Brandon Stark situation where it's like,
Holy shit.
Hodor's dragging him, carrying him around the whole time or
Yeah.
whatever, and then all of
Well,
a sudden he's just like, oh, now we're gonna pull you in a cart.
So the
You're
good
huge.
news about this is that
Most
when
of the
you-
time she's in the wheelchair.
when you cast an adult, you don't have to worry about them being a child and then growing into a man when you take too long
Yeah,
to.
it's a problem
Yeah.
from the start.
Yeah, I mean they have it already. Like the problem with Game of Thrones is that Brandon was a kid, and then the movie, the HBO show takes so long to film. The time difference is so much longer.
Yeah.
Whereas if in the book he's still little.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
in this she's a problem from the start.
Yeah.
Secondly, they immediately already go to where he's pulling her on a sled.
Mm-hmm.
They're finding ways to drag her because of the fact that it's a problem from the
But
start.
he carries
anyway.
her at other parts, right?
He does
Yeah,
have to
sure,
carry her,
yeah.
which is why they're going to have to be creative about this because he is legitimately
Legitimately.
going to have to carry her.
Episode 2 of the day.
Honestly, he should just grab his stubs into a wheelbarrow.
She's got the upper body strength.
Anyway,
She's a gunslinger, darn it.
yeah. But by the way,
Can't
don't
you go any faster than that, you honky ass motherfucker? She's just like,
don't misinterpret me. She obviously is constantly useful and constantly making her value, not only in her shooting, but in her just practical mindset. Like with the Sterno, which saved their lives.
Right.
Like several other services, making Roland snowshoes. Secondly, Roland couldn't figure out how to stitch his own damned clothes out of the deerskin that they got. You know, like there were circumstances throughout that. So anyway, they make it out of there alive. It was fun to read.
Yeah,
it was like a little throwback to the horror days.
Yeah, loved it.
Yeah.
And
I wish I had read it.
you did.
How
you
did
must
I
have been
miss
in
it?
Days. Yeah, it must have
I
been
don't know
like
what
falling
happened.
asleep or whatever.
I must have fallen asleep and then didn't rewind long enough. I don't know.
Yeah.
But great scene. And then they come out, and they are near Castle Discordia. And they realize that the
Is that when they meet the triplets?
Yes,
that's
it
when they meet the
is.
triplets.
Ben.
Yeah.
which we'll get to in a second. But they actually
That I
notice.
remember.
Well, Susanna, first of all, this entire time has been growing up probably what we call probably a cancerous sore on her mouth from crossing
Definitely.
Thunderclap.
Right.
Well, at first, I thought it was just a pimple, like how all the breakers had pimples.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were all like full of sores. And
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But it became apparent there was more than just a pimple later on.
Became an issue.
Yeah.
And Roland didn't want to cut it out or dig it out, and maybe for good reason, but they
Well, he
decided to see
probably
if it
had
could
an
heal.
instinct that it was going to be erased later.
Yeah.
Maybe
Because he's done this a
yeah,
billion
maybe
times.
he had. We'll have to discuss that. But that was a concern, you know, because we lost the rest of our Ka-tet except for Oi and her.
Yeah.
And
Oh my gosh, that would suck.
yeah, no,
It's like, oh, Jake dies, and then, or Eddie dies, then Jake dies, and then it's like, and Susanna's gonna die slowly of cancer.
God.
It's like, what? You
Yeah.
asshole.
And it's-
That's what I was thinking for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm like, as soon as Jake died, I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
thanks. Now you're just gonna have her die slowly. I was like upset at him. I'm like, way to go, King. You're getting a heated letter. Not really.
we'll talk.
Not
about,
really. I would never write a writer.
We'll
heated letter.
we'll have to talk about Susanna and this because, like all of the Ka-tet, she wanted to make it to the tower. She wanted to be there. In the end, she did choose her own path, which is interesting concept because it may have to do with our discussion later. But
Well, she had hopes to reconnect with Eddie, right? Wasn't that one of the main?
but I would argue that Roland himself.
Let her go.
No, Roland himself now had hopes to connect to. He had a family now. So that's something we'll have to get into a little bit when we start talking about
The end.
the true antagonist.
Okay.
But what I think the interesting part here is I was in the same boat as you the first time. I was like, they all fucking died. They're going to get to the base of the Dark Tower and she's going to fucking keel over of some cancer. Like, be like, I couldn't make it quite inside Roland, and then he's going to go in alone. I was just like, son of a bitch.
And then Oi would be all like, answer?
But yeah, I don't know. So she's got that. We know it. It's bothering her, right? She's talking about it. And the cool thing is that the Crimson King obliterated everything southwind of him.
He did.
But he said, "Oh, I gotta travel this way, so everything up here is fresh and so clean."
Yeah.
And they notice it right away, and they're like, "Oh, this is nice."
Yeah.
So that's a good sign for our Ka-tet to not be probably traveling through cancerous radioactive material.
But now, technically, at this point, do you still consider them a breaking Ka-tet?
Yeah,
or
they're
are they just not
broken.
a Ka-tet?
They're
Already
broken.
shattered.
Right?
Yeah,
They're
a
shattered
broken
now,
They're
one.
shattered.
Yeah.
They shattered actually when Eddie died. And they knew it, but
Because I was a little confused on that point because she definitely still seemed loyal to...
yeah.
She is.
To
But
She
Roland
now
and-
calls him the
yeah.
once Din. He's my once Din.
Right.
He's like they still have the loyalty, but it's like they don't have the
Ka
kinetic
connection.
Yeah.
It's almost
Connection.
like
So I guess-
that connection has moved on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
There's no longer the force of the beam guiding the actions.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an argument against what I was saying before, where maybe this is just memory. All of the things that like keep them that connected is like the memory ingrained instinctually,
So,
kind of. Because if it kind of went away, she's still with him, so she should still have that memory, but it's not quite working in the same
Yeah,
way.
it's different though. I think there's I'm not saying that your memory theory can't exist. I think that it could exist, but I think there are certain instances where their Ka connection was more than
That.
that.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was something further.
Right.
And
Because we definitely know that memories can.
It could have been the
kind of-
memories, and the reason why they remembered together was Ka.
maybe now it's different.
Right.
Oh,
Now
yeah.
that the-
and now it's weaker because they're not
Yeah.
forming these memories together.
And
That
so
makes sense.
That connection is broken.
Yeah. Either way, what it is we know that it's broken, but
Right.
there's still a loyalty there, and
Yeah, and they still have the same desire,
Yeah.
the same obsession, not to the extent that Roland has, but to see the
Close,
Dark Tower.
though.
Yeah.
And even Eddie himself, so many times early in the book, he's like, I realized I don't care if I die seeing this. I want to see this damn tower.
Yeah.
Now, how would you guys have felt if Stephen King just had Roland go through the door with Susanna into this other world and just stay there?
Well, I want to talk about that when we get to the
Okay.
because I have some concepts I want to bring up to you guys,
Okay.
and one of them
Is
about that, but it has to do with what Roland is really being tested with here,
Right.
And we'll get to it then. But let's save it for when we put all of them out on
Gotcha.
the table. and we-
Gotcha.
Cool.
We got Roland and Susanna starting into the Winterlands, White Lands.
yes.
And
And
Pathica.
it's
Wait, before they get to Empathica,
like
Castle
40
Concordia.
degrees.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like 40 degrees outside.
What?
And
Well,
they're slowly numbing them.
was that before? Oh, that was before Castle Concordia.
Yeah,
You're right.
because they get there and they
Yeah.
have the baskets of clothes
Yeah.
and food.
Yeah, they were teasing him with it. Yeah, okay. So that was very vivid in my mind. And I don't know, like I remember this like occasionally, and I'm a very warm-blooded person. I'm hardly cold.
Yeah.
But there's occasionally circumstances where I've made a mistake thinking that
Yeah, and
and
then
getting
you're in
into
the
a
cold for a
predicament
long
where I
time.
realize that I'm going to be cold for a long time.
Yeah.
Not cold enough to like do anything to me,
Yeah.
but cold enough to make me very grumpy.
Yeah. Especially since you're so used to being hot.
Yes. So
And this isn't that hours, this is days.
I
and
know.
days and
Exactly.
months.
I think it was months. I think it was like a month. It may have been
Maybe
more. I don't know if you
An
remember.
example
Captain,
of
but-
this was at the top of Mount Fuji when we came very
Oh
unprepared
my
for that.
god!
And we had to sleep all night at the top of that mountain with
Yeah.
like no fucking like
Nothing.
heavy clothing.
Oh,
Oh, my
shit.
god, it was so cold.
Yeah, that, we could tell stories about the mistakes we made.
Yeah.
But
But
I
those-
really related to that.
Those stories are not for kids.
They're not
Yeah,
PG.
Let's just say we kept warm.
Yeah. I will say that.
Just kidding.
Folks, we are not talking about, just for you who know, the rare amount, we are not talking about climbing Mount Fuji from the bus stop. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
there
Station
was-
8 where everybody else
Yeah.
drives a bus to that's
Yeah.
like 3, 4. Anyway, back to the book.
Long story. Message us if you want more, like, you know.
If
Behind
you
the
want the
scenes,
real
yeah.
story,
Stories.
message me, I'll make it up.
Yeah. So, but anyway, they go through this, and Susanna the entire time even starts eyeballing Oi, like, how
Oh my
comfortable is
God,
he?
yeah.
Holy God, is he comfortable? Like, look at him. Look
He
at
strikes
that
his
coat.
foot.
Yeah.
Like, stroking it.
So nice.
It's like the
sad thing is,
proverbial.
like,
it's like when you watch a cartoon and they're stuck on a boat. And they just see the other person as a ham.
That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was.
I can understand that from one perspective of Susanna is like just slowly freezing, but not quite. being
Never
frozen
quite,
in
right?
the
It
ice.
was
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
40 degrees the whole time.
And you got that nice little fuzzball warm.
If I just had
But
a
then-
sweater. Just a
Yeah.
sweater. But I just haven't had a sweater.
But then I love Oi. I'm like, you don't
Yeah.
touch him.
Well, the other problem is the
Die
be-
anyway. Just take it.
Yeah, the
Take
best
it,
thing she
sir.
could have made out of Oi is a miniature scarf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
She'd be like,
mink
my
fur
ear
coat.
is like really
Yeah.
warm.
But yeah, that I found very vivid, and even Roland was getting really impatient. Like he did the entire time. We're from Susanna's point of view, when that's being described, but Roland is snapping at her because even he is kind of like just completely and terribly uncomfortable.
Which ever since they became Ka-tet, like not really became Ka-tet, but ever since he started seeing them as people that he loves instead of tools, I can't really think of an instance other than when he asked Eddie to get him his gun that he snapped at the Ka-tet. He snapped at other people. But he would always be really calm with them and teachery, father figure.
It was also came from losing both Eddie and Jake,
and being in probably such pain from
Under
his
a lot of
arthritis and all that shit. He just had everything working against him at this point.
Because it also comes up again once Susanna leaves.
Yeah, he snaps at Boy pretty soon here in the story.
He does, and he regrets it to the end because that's the last thing. And
don't worry, you won't remember it, Roland.
To his credit, though, he snapped at Susanna and almost immediately apologized, owned it, and then said, "All right, I own that. I was short with you." And
that's me when I get mad.
I know.
I like snap, and then I'm just like,
it's always
that
weird
was unnecessary. I'm sorry. What's that?
So it's always weird when you get mad that you bring up how short you are.
Oh dear. That was good. But they make it through the kind of semi-cold lands. We'll call them the semi-cold lands because they're not in blizzards.
Yeah.
And they're not on the path of the beam, but just off to it.
Yeah.
Is good old Castle. Is it Castle Discordia or Concordia?
It's the Crimson King's old stomping grounds.
I know. I know they always say Discordia, but then I thought it was Castle Concordia, but I could be crazy, literally. I could be crazy. I could be thinking of this like...
Whatever the castle is, they don't even bother going inside of it. So...
Oh, actually, they do briefly.
They do?
Or to the bridge.
They went to the bridge.
Yeah,
they went outside, but...
I feel like I would have ransacked that a little more.
They will go inside, but go inside is not
It's Castle Discordia.
Discordia.
I'm sorry.
I want to say Discordia.
Unless there's both.
I was clearly being crazy. Crazy, Ben. I was being crazy.
Is the castle at the end of Thunderclap?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is that the right one?
No, wait. Is Castle Discordia?
There's two. Concordia is the one with the wall where Mia has the visions, and Discordia is the Crimson Kings. That's why I was confused.
I was going to say another way around, but Discordia is one they just left with the underground tunnel.
And then Concordia is the Crimson Kings.
I want to say that, but...
Could you type in Crimson King's Castle? Let's find this out, folks.
Yeah.
We are determined, even though you probably already know.
Yeah, right?
It's like, at least someone's
this is why we need like a live stream so people can just correct us right away. We have our own fact
I know, right?
All right, keep talking. I'll find it.
Okay.
Anyway, so they get here and we find, which I found this very entertaining conversation.
I did.
Actually.
Yeah, I did.
The three Stevens.
Fimalo, and who's the third bozo's name?
Emilo, Fimalo, and Femalo. Femalo?
Yeah.
I thought it was
something
Emilo,
like that.
Fimalo, and Femalo.
That could
but
be
maybe
it.
I'm wrong.
That could be it. It's basically the id, ego, and super ego.
And super ego.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, aren't you clever? And he's like, yeah, I went to college.
I wonder if I can find it. Oh, dude, is this not the most depressing photo you've ever seen?
Oh my gosh.
What is it?
It's just like somebody. Is that Roland?
Oh,
Can you see it?
Good God.
Sitting in front of the door.
Good God.
We were just talking about.
Dude, I have to keep reminding myself that Roland's not black.
He's not Idris Elba.
Idris Elba, because he was so effing good. The movie was mediocre, but he was so effing good as Roland. That's how I picture him now.
We're not going to talk about the movie yet. We'll have another episode where we can talk about that.
Cool.
The movie was mediocre if it wasn't The Dark Tower. If it was just a movie.
Right.
But
It's just
because
any old
it was
movie, it'd
The
be
Dark
all right.
Tower,
But it had
it
nothing to do
wasn't
with the book.
mediocre. It was wrong.
Yeah.
But I hope that they hire Idris Elba again because he was good.
Yeah. I have no
Anyway.
problems with Idris Elba. He's awesome. I think he would have been a
love Idris.
sick-ass James Bond, too, for the record. But he
Agreed.
didn't get the
I think
part.
that guy
Love
could
it.
do anything.
Yeah,
Anything.
agreed.
The only thing he probably might not be able to play is like a computer geek. Because he just got such a bassy, fucking sexy ass voice.
Yeah,
He's
I know,
like,
I
I
think
don't
you-
buy it. You
Yeah.
never touch a computer.
Agreed.
I don't
Yeah.
buy it, man.
Agreed. So my love of Idris will always be on record. I agree
Indeed.
wholeheartedly. But we will make time to discuss the movie,
The movie at
probably
some
around
point.
the time that the
The series
series
comes out.
is
Yeah.
coming out,
Yeah.
which will correct that. But anyway, we'll get to that.
I
folks,
can't
when it
find
comes.
any other castles.
Maybe it's
We'll
just
come
Grant.
back to it.
Yeah.
It don't matter. We'll be fine.
This is why
Anyways.
Manny's the fact checker. I
Yeah,
can't
I know.
find shit.
So, but they find it, and this conversation really entertained me.
It did. yeah.
Very heavily.
Yeah.
And it was also interesting because we were wondering how much was fact and how much wasn't fact.
Right.
The entire point was, well, they were certainly assigned by the Crimson King in his insanity after he murdered himself with a spoon before he left on his one horse and killing all of his servants and swallowing that spoon. He designated his guy to ambush in a trap Roland. But the guy said certain things that were helpful in a way, like, AKA, you've already saved the universe, Roland. Take this stuff and get out of here. What did you guys think of that conversation as a whole? I'm just curious. I mean, I thought it was.
I found it
half-
highly
Go ahead.
entertaining, extremely entertaining. I was glad to see another character with dialogue here, just because we had seen quite an absence of just lonely journeying.
Susanna and
yeah.
Roland and occasionally Oi
Yeah.
saying nothing.
Yeah.
Keep them. But right away from the get-go, instantly, as soon as they introduce Fimolo, and the rest of them, I'm like, dude, don't trust a single word these bozos are saying. Like, everything they're saying is gone. Because these lands were under direct rule from the Crimson King. So you know, like, dude, you're not going to be able to trust anybody in this area whatsoever. So I found it very awesome that this scene took place, but at the same time, I was like, Roland, Susanna, you know not to trust these bozos. Don't trust them. Don't even scare us and make us think that you're trusting them, because you're not going to trust
Right.
them.
Which, by the way, Susanna was scaring me a little bit.
Yeah, she was.
Because
Yeah.
Roland was clearly ahead of the game, but Susanna, although she caught herself, thankfully, I was getting worried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not remember this part at all. Like, I was like, are the baskets good? Or, I mean, I would think they're a trap, but...
Yeah.
and then
Susanna
she's
was like,
"Ah."
it's all worth it for a pair of mittens.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
A pair of
anybody
earmuffs.
any man that's ever had a girlfriend knows how irritable women can get when you put the air conditioning on.
Oh,
This is
damn.
much colder.
Yeah, it was much colder.
Every girlfriend I've ever had has yelled at me about the air conditioning.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm so hot.
But Roland knows that
Because that's
they've...
what was in the baskets, right? I'm not forgetting this.
It was,
right?
yeah,
That's
one
what
basket
they
was
claimed
food.
was in the baskets.
Right. That's what they were saying. They were saying it's like clothes and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
frozen food.
Right.
Yeah, but as it turned out, that conversation was pretty interesting, and I think there were some hidden gems in there.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
couldn't tell you. It was just my feeling that there were hidden gems in there. I couldn't tell you.
I wish I had the transcript of that.
Yeah, if we were to like analyze it, I'm sure that we would have fun picking out little.
There were some
especially now that
kernels
we've
of
finished
truth
it.
in there, I'm sure.
Yeah, for
Actually, I felt like everything they said was true,
in some way.
but the gift was the only lie they had.
He said that. He said the only thing that was a lie was
Really? Yeah.
the gift
And then the fact that
and the fact that
of the
yeah.
prime minister, how he died.
Yes, how he died.
I don't
Those were the
remember what
two-
it was, but that was like a
He was
major
beheaded.
lie. Yeah.
He said that he was
Yeah.
beheaded, but it was him, because they were pretending to be a shapeshifter.
Correct.
Split. Funny that they chose King. Interesting. And then
Yeah, they showed up as clones of King. That was Weird.
And I wonder if there was something that bound them, because they seemed to all know how insane the Crimson King had become.
Yeah.
And were like, it seems like they would just want to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, I don't know what Themolo-Thymolo's endgame was, because even when he failed in his plan, Roland was like, all right, you're going to pass a message on to Mordred for me. It's like, oh my God. Like, as readers, we know, like, that's not going to end well for you. Don't do that.
You know what's... I agree. I agree, Captain. You know what's funny is he almost said that with a smile.
Yeah.
Hey, pass a message on.
Yeah.
I didn't kill you, buddy, but I don't have to.
Right. Yeah. That's what it boiled down to.
Which, by the way, that death was interesting because it let us know something. It let us know how close Mordred had been following them.
Yeah.
Before, we were wondering, because I went through the tunnel, the train. They're like, did we lose him?
Yeah.
I don't know. But as it turns out, he was like a few hours behind him.
Yeah.
So how he got through Centipede Monster, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't know either. There's no explanation for that specific part. But we get a lot of internal awesome monologue from Mordred. Like, he has this psychotic, twisted, familial relationship with, what did he call Roland? The White Daddy.
The White Daddy.
The White Daddy.
White Daddy and Red Daddy.
The White Daddy, and then Susanna was the Blackbird or something like that, right? Yeah. Mama Blackbird and White Daddy. Yeah. Like, he has, like, this insane relationship with them where he is obsessed with them. Like, he wants to know everything they're doing. But an equally potent urge is to just kill them, to murder them. Yeah. But I have to know everything they're doing. It's like, Jesus, Mordred.
I know.
So evil.
It was so interesting because he would literally be following them and jealous of not being able to join their campfire, but then wanting to kill them and knowing he wanted to kill them.
Yeah.
And it was really, like, kind of different.
Really weird.
Psychotic.
Yeah.
And I actually feel bad for him because he's so powerful, but he has a handicap, which is...
He does.
He's so powerful, but he's only a child in one body with the mind, a super strong mind. Secondly, in his most powerful form, his metabolism runs so fast he'll starve and die almost immediately.
Yeah.
But by the time he got out of the cave, I think he was like 10. Like
Yes.
He ages fast.
That's
too,
why he can move. That's why he can move and why he
Mm-hmm.
can follow them. But he couldn't risk always transforming.
Mm-hmm.
And also the problem is when he transformed, he said his mind was not...
simpler.
Yeah, he would just go for
More
food.
good.
And actually that's what happened when he ate... You know, we'll get to it. When he ate, but we'll get to when the captain returns.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I thought that was so interesting. He was really close to them. And then they leave Castle Discordia and head to...
Discordia.
Empathica.
Empathica.
Bum.
Which is Empathica?
Empathica is the village of snow, that good old
Is that where
stuttering...
Dandolo is?
Yes.
Okay.
Stuttering... What's the stuttering robot's name?
Bill.
Stuttering Bill.
Stuttering Bill.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I loved Stuttering Bill.
Yeah, I did too. But we'll... Oh, yeah, I think Andrew's making another drink.
Yeah.
I do like Stuttering Bill.
Jeez.
Oh, the White Lands of Empathica.
Andrew's
Here it
just
is,
making
folks.
a drink like right in front of the camera. He's like reached over and just placed.
That's it, folks. The White Land of Empathica, a.k.a. the White Land of Empathica, a.k.a. Dandolo.
Dandolo.
And it even has a street sign called Tower Road and Odds Lane.
Oh, dear God. Did we just get to that section with Dandolo?
Yes.
Oh,
we did.
my God. Dude, right off the get-go, I immediately fell in love with Dandolo's character. I'm like, dude, this old man is so awesome. He's so senile. He's so like they mentioned in the story.
Have a gum drop.
Yeah,
He just-
they mentioned
he just
in the
remi-
story, like, Roland was like, dude, because Susanna's like, I don't think we want to meet anyone who lives near the Dark Tower. Like, they're probably bad news. And Roland's like, well, if we don't meet them, Mordred will, and he's going to kill them. So we need to at least go and, like, warn them, like, hey, you know, you're in extreme peril right now. So, right, and then, like, Dandelo comes, you know, or AKA Joe Collins, comes blundering out of the house, being like, "Oh, I don't know what's going on. Like, don't look at my poor horse who is like extremely malnourished." Right there was the first sign that you get like, something's not right. Did you guys get that sense instantly, or did it take you until they show Nettie, the horse?
So I was definitely cautious because they were right by the Dark Tower, but my first read through, I didn't necessarily immediately assume negative. I just was like, I had a lot of trust in Roland to see through it.
Yeah.
So, but then he didn't, and Susanna was constantly being bothered by.
Yeah.
So it was almost like it flipped, right? Mm-hmm. Roland was down at Castle Discordia, and this time. I do say, though, he did want to save people from Mordred, because Mordred's going to eat whoever he comes across.
Yeah,
that's true. But, I didn't necessarily distrust him right away.
Yeah. I wanted to trust him. I'm like, dude, this guy seems so awesome.
I know.
He's
like Andrew would laugh. He would be like, yeah, tell me those jokes.
Oh, dude, I would be a goner. If Dandelo...
He'd be laughing till the last section. He's like, oh, shit, you're Dandelo. You're fucking hilarious, Dandelo. I gotta give it to you.
Dude, I would be a goner if Dandelo got me. But yeah, super, super awesome. Loved that scene. I loved the just the subtle clues that Susanna was picking up on. Yeah. I thought that was really cool for Susanna's character. Like, at first she noticed, like, man, like, this guy, his horse is in such terrible condition. Like, that kind of doesn't seem right. And the Dandelo even jokes about it at one point. He's like, oh, I hope you don't take my what was the term he uses? It's
like,
so
don't
hilarious.
judge me based on
shit.
What was the name?
I don't remember.
I don't remember at all.
I'm trying to remember now too.
Crap. But we'll come back to it. But yeah. That part was awesome. And then she hears like screaming in the wind as they're sitting in the house, and it's like, that's a weird sound the wind is making, but it's actually Patrick Danville down in the basement screaming that they're hearing, the residue from. And it was a really weird moment in the audiobook as well when you're listening to that section, and Dandelo's like this senile old man at first, and then he starts delivering his comedy routine, and he becomes like a modern day like New Jersey New Yorker or something.
Exactly.
Like, what the fuck? Like, is this a
was
different
like an old
character?
It was almost like an old like vaudevillian act or something like that.
That was the thing too, is even Susanna was like, oh man, he approached us and he was talking in all the Kala dialect and the mid-world slang. Yeah. And then suddenly he's seeming very American. That's weird.
And he seems younger, like his teeth grew during the dinner and all this stuff.
But he also is American.
Yes.
And like he got transferred over there. So when they're doing that, I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense.
That makes sense, yeah.
Once he starts in his act that he did in America, he starts acting like that. But it wasn't until they start describing him being younger, his teeth coming back, his lines, and his face going like, oh, this is... I thought that
not genuine.
was sucking the life out of them somehow.
Yeah.
I caution, though, I wonder how much time he truly spent in America.
I was almost wondering if Dandelo's a monster, and he probably just ate some poor comedian American dude named Joe Collins, and then like absorbed all of his memories and comedy routines and stuff.
So
and
I've been waiting to talk about this.
But if he's like a vampire, like
yes,
when a vampire takes the blood it only lasts for a few days. Like,
Yeah.
So
I can speak German now.
They
for
called him a
that.
vampire, but there's a lot of
He's like a bug.
speculation that he's a lot more like, even potentially offspring of Pennywise.
Yes.
I also
So
thought that too.
here's what the theory is.
Well, I thought he was kind of Pennywise too.
Pennywise
To the
and that
clowns.
town in Derry is in Cornerstone world, and
The Keystone world?
a Keystone world, and the door they find there is almost directly on top of the Dark Tower. And so people who are reading it and like also Dark Tower are thinking, and it's almost confirmed in it, that Pennywise had eggs. That it wouldn't be that hard for some offspring to make it to the town right outside of the Dark Tower. That's not fact.
Damn.
It's
Right.
just speculation, right?
Speculation, yeah.
But-
That's interesting.
But I was
something
reading
to
this,
think about.
and he became
His
more
true self,
true
kind
self.
of.
I was
or-
like, man, this seems a lot like Pennywise.
Yeah, agreed with the clown act.
Yeah.
And if our readers are, they've already come across this section and they haven't done any looking into this, I would strongly urge that you literally just Google image search Dandelo, and the first image that comes up is extremely creepy and
Yes,
awesome.
it is very. Yeah. By the way, before we continue on during the break, I did find Femalo and Fumalo, but I can't find the other one's name.
Yeah, those
The
were the
third
only
one.
two ones that I remembered.
So, was anybody else a little, I don't want to say disappointed, but disappointed with
With the whole note
Fimalo.
sequence?
not necessarily the
Fimalo.
note.
The whole
Fimalo?
Dandelo section?
Yeah, not the whole section, but just the fact that, like, I was kind of hoping that Eddie's last words would have more of an impact on the outcomes of things.
Yes.
But it just seemed like she realized it after
She
that
had already
knew there
knew
was
it anyway.
danger.
She already
yeah, it's like,
figured it
oh, she
out
started
anyway.
hearing choking. Oh, that's starting to sound weird. It's like she already knows there's danger, and then she's like,
Yeah.
oh, Dandelo. And it's just
She-
like, well,
She figured it out really late in the game.
right, right.
Now,
Yeah.
I have a thought on that, and my thought is two things. The first one is that he does have magic, and it was clouding Susanna's judgment.
Right.
Because every time Susanna was falling into her natural judgment, she couldn't ever act. She always found an excuse to, like, and I thought if you're in the head of someone being enchanted, that's probably what it's like.
Yeah.
You're not the person who's like, I'm being enchanted. This is weird. No, she's like, this is weird. Nah, it's probably fine. I'm
Yeah.
going to keep going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the second thing is,
It's kind of like people that are high that try
Eddie
to fly.
grabbed
I don't think they're doing
Jake.
something
Eddie
weird.
grabbed
So.
Jake and he pulled Jake close. And he said, it's your job now.
Right.
You need to protect our den from Dandelo. And then that was it.
Yeah.
It was Jake's job. And Jake was dead.
Yeah.
So my thought is,
I mean, that
only Jake.
makes sense. My comment isn't that it's weird that happened. My comment is I'm disappointed that it played out that way because I wish the last words of Eddie Dean had more of an impact.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it needs to happen that way. I'm sure King did that on purpose. It's like, okay, this thing that you think is going to be important, well, it's important to the story that it actually ends up not being as important as you thought. You know what I mean? Because he kind of likes to throw curveballs and not really follow traditional structure where it always has a setup and a payoff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But to me, I was just like, I kind of just wish for Eddie Dean's sake that his last words were like
More
really
impactful. Yeah.
Yeah.
However, I think his true last words were to Susanna. So I think that he said that to Jake.
That's true.
And then his true last words were, I'll see you in the clearing. I'll be waiting for you. Something along those lines. And then he
I guess.
passed.
And
I'm,
that did happen.
I'm wondering, too, if King had already predetermined the sequence of events because... and it's almost like he used Eddie's final words in that aspect, like in hindsight, because
Yeah.
like if you look at the progression of Susanna's character, her helping out Roland with Dandelo is kind of like her last involvement in the whole Ka-tet. She doesn't really do anything at all past that point. So like the last opportunity for her to make use of those words is at that point. But I mean, still, I think I still agree with you, director. Like, I would have liked to have seen those words be more impactful in the when Roland gets to the Dark Tower itself. Somehow, those words have meaning. But Susanna's character was kind of ejected from the story right before the climax, so there wasn't a lot more that she could do with that knowledge.
Yeah,
it's almost like she was intentionally lingering. Because she knew that she had to go, but didn't want to.
Yeah.
Was battling that.
Also, I think it might have had more of an effect, those words, if there wasn't a note from Stephen King to say, you already have the answer, think about it.
Yeah.
So it's basically like doubling down on Dandelo.
I almost thought, I thought that was... King talking about the failure of his team.
Yeah.
Almost like a coach giving you the answer or a teacher giving you the answer and then your team still not getting it.
Yeah.
And then at the end he's like, here's a hint, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm doing this is because your asses saved my ass.
Yeah.
From a van.
Well, I also have a more writer craft kind of explanation for it too, potentially, because I was sitting here thinking about it, and away from like the stuff happening in the story,
but I'm gonna refill as well while I
aside from the stuff that's happening in the story, I also feel like there's a very practical reason for like at the end, because it just seems like everything keeps kind of happening different from how you expect it, very anticlimactically.
Yes,
agreed. And it's like Eddie's words end up having almost no meaning. The Crimson King really isn't defeated; he's erased.
Yeah,
and it just Mordred ends up almost being like just too easy to defeat. Like all these things, just to me seemed like, man, I don't know if you guys remember, but I said like, because the story was so epic. Like in like the third book, I said something like, dude, I'm expecting like the answers to life to be at the end of this book. You know what I mean? Do you remember that?
I do, yeah.
And it just like, it was so not that.
I would argue that maybe they were.
Well, the thing is though is that I think
philosophically,
that all of these kind of, I'm not going to call them disappointments, but all of these anti-expectation and anticlimactic things that happen, actually for me, because it ended on such a kind of like melancholy, almost low note, the actual ending ended up having a fucking hard punch for me, where I was like, that's badass.
That's why.
If all of these things happened in a traditional way, where it was like climactic and it was just like such a satisfying ending, and then I found out that it was all just gonna fucking happen again because Roland still hasn't quite done what he's gotta do or whatever, I'd be like, dude, that's fucking cheap. Yeah. But because I was like on such kind of like a, oh man, is that it? kind of node, I was just like, oh yes, he gets to do it again. I was like so excited.
I think really, and we'll get into this when we start really diving into the ending, because I want to talk more about Dandelo first. But the reality is that I think the true ending, what the true climax was saving the beams and saving King.
Yeah.
That's like the end battle.
Eddie
the
and
rest
Jake's
of it,
sacrifices.
The end of it, the rest of it is just Roland's addiction.
Yeah.
And his inability to walk away from the tower. And we could argue about that in a lot of ways, but I personally think the reason that King decided to diminish the antagonists, kill the main antagonist, Randall Flagg, early, diminish the conflict between Mordred and the Crimson King is because the actual antagonist is Roland's obsession with the Dark Tower.
Right.
That's my thought.
But I also feel like the ending was for me very upbeat, just because now he's got the horn. To me, it felt like it gave me that same feeling that I wanted people to feel for my film Outside, the short film that I did. BrentWilliamsFilm.com, just saying. And
I know what you're saying.
yeah, it's like this
down,
idea
but
of
up. There's hope.
not success but hope.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It's
And
exactly
I
right.
really like that because it kind of, I don't know, I really like doing that in stories personally.
Oh,
Yeah, I agree.
Awesome. But I think that was personally why he diminished that. But we will be talking in depth about that shortly. Before that, I want to talk to the captain on Dandelion.
Finish it up on Dandelion. Quick. I did find that quote that I was looking for.
Yes,
go for
it. Which was earlier mentioned, where he shows Nelly the horse, and Susanna's like, "Oh my god, that's the most hideous horse I've ever seen. It's so like malnourished." And Dandelion turns around and very casually he's like, "Oh, I hope you don't take my hospitality to be as bad as my horsepitality." Dude, so awesome. I love this guy.
How much time do you think that Stephen King thought about the dialogue for this guy?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
He had some pretty funny jokes.
Yeah,
He did.
But
yeah.
then I realized very quickly that he had funny jokes, but that Roland and Susanna were laughing too hard for them.
They were, yeah, it was
Too
not
hard.
justified.
And then you're starting to realize that he's going, and Stephen King does this amazing thing where he gets you in the zone with him, but you're still thinking, that's funny, but that's not that funny.
Yeah.
And then he starts putting in the weirdness. Like, I can't stop. Something's wrong.
Yeah, Roland
you know what I mean?
spills his coffee in his own lap or something.
Yeah,
and it's
like
oh,
Roland.
that's
Roland
not
spills
right.
coffee.
Yeah.
Roland spills coffee.
He also-
no.
It reminds me a little bit of like when I was listening to it. It kind of had the same feel for me of when I watched the newest iteration.
Oh,
you know that
yeah.
scene
I
where
love
he's
that
like,
movie,
where he's
by the
like,
way.
where Pennywise is like dancing,
Yes.
and like amps up and starts fucking wiggling and
Yes.
shit. Like it felt like that to me, where it's just like it just kept amping up, and then you quickly realize like, dude, shit's shaking. Like this
Yeah.
shouldn't happen this way. You know, it's
I would
really
like
weird.
to put a thanks out to not only, I mean, obviously Stephen King's writing of that scene had that vibe,
Yeah.
but the performance.
Performance, yeah.
That the audiobook performance
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was
It was
done
awesome.
there was awesome. I don't
really
think he
good.
was taking a break. Now, I generally listen to audiobook on 1.25, and he the reason I do that, sometimes I do 1.5, but I generally do 1.25 because if you do 1.0, it's so slow. It's too slow.
Yeah.
It's like you can't move. But when I was on 1.25, he was going fast, and then he would get faster and faster and faster. If you're on 1.5, which is the other speed I do,
I did 2.0 and I had to lower it for that section.
you had to. There's no way. It was like da-da-da. He
It's
just
like a
kept
machine
going
gun.
and going and going like a machine gun. And
Yeah.
it was just like, I was like, at 1.25, this is a phenomenal performance. So
Yeah.
I got to give it out to audiobook George
Goodall.
It's
George
Goodall.
Goodall.
Yeah.
George
Yeah.
Goodall. Fantastic performance. I love both of them.
Yes.
But one of the reasons that it also made a ton of sense to me how Stephen King described how you can get on a roll with laughing. Even
Yeah,
if it's
yeah,
not
Yes.
funny.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
it's so
And
true.
it's just
I've
you
been there.
laughing,
Yeah.
and then you realize you're like, oh, this is ridiculous, and you can't stop laughing because you're laughing.
Yes.
Right.
And it
Yeah,
just
yeah,
builds and builds.
Yeah.
Usually it's always happened to me in class when I was in like, high school. But
Yeah.
it has happened.
It's very
outside of
true.
that.
And then all of a sudden, things that aren't that funny can just make
No, you can't
crack.
stop. Everything
Yes.
is just
Everything's
laughing.
Everything's
It's
funny.
a self-generating
Just like a look.
thing like a hurricane. Like
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
the winds will potentially self-sustain it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
it's
where
awesome.
you get into the situation where you laugh so hard, you're like crying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like literally crying because you're like, I can't, and my stomach's hurting. 'cause
Yeah,
I
but you
I
can't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been
Yeah,
there.
I've experienced that, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's usually pretty
amazing.
fun to experience that.
Yeah.
It is. You're having a good time. That's
Like usually, but
Yeah.
usually it's not a.
In this
stupid-
case, maybe
usually you're
not.
not
Clown
Die.
that's trying to kill me.
Right. Right.
Speaking of which, although it may not be Pennywise or as strong as Pennywise, it was a feeder of some creature like Pennywise. But
Correct.
apparently Roland's bullets kill that shit quick.
Yes. Yes.
But it fed off the emotions.
Yeah, there is an argument that that because Pennywise and those creatures take the weaknesses of the forms that they take.
Yeah.
And Susanna put 2 bullets in his head when he was part human. That
was enough to end it. Yeah.
But we don't have that confirmed.
Yeah.
We don't.
That's all. We do know that he was dead. Was it Roland's Excalibur-bred gun, or was it just that he was human at the time? We don't know.
And eventually, Mordred does consume the corpse of Dandolo, and it makes him violently ill.
Not Dandolo.
The horse. The horse made
horse.
it.
Oh, the
Yeah.
horse. That's right.
Yeah,
The
it
horse.
Of course.
Yes.
The horse, of course.
Which reminds me really quickly of this place that I went to when I was living in Japan. They had horse sashimi.
I had it.
Oh,
And it was funny
didn't kill
because
me, by
the translation was I made like a Facebook post. Like, there's only 2 types of sushi, and on the menu it said horse sashimi, and then underneath it was like sashimi no horse. That was just like the 2 types of sashimi they had there.
Did they serve you an accompaniment of gumdrops during that meal too?
Yeah.
They did. It was all in a line.
Gumdrops as well.
They just baked.
Get ready, Mordred.
Gumdrop bait.
You're going to be diseased. But I did think, like, there was a few cool things in that. Well, there's a lot of cool things in that scene. But number one is Susanna actually, like, accidentally hitting her cancerous sore saved them.
Yeah.
Number
Pain.
2 is what the house looked like before and what it looked like after. Very similar to what, for instance, the kids see when blood flies out of the sink, and then the adults don't see anything, or there's expanded, but similar powers. But she finds that note from Stephen King in there, but she does not look in the sink right away. She goes and kills good old Dandolo first.
Saves Roland and Oi.
It saves Roland and Oi.
I was so angry when Dandolo punted Oi across the room.
You son of a bitch!
I'm like, you motherfucker! How can you do that to Oi?
I know. He football drop kicked Oi. I'm like,
I was less mad at Pennywise for eating that kid in the beginning. Don't kick Oi. You can eat kids. Don't kick Oi.
Don't you dare kick Oi.
I love Oi. That other kid.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do with the
Just use the kid as a jacket.
Oh my
Leave
God.
Oi alone.
I mean, if you're a little kid and you see a clown in the sewer, it's your own fault for
It's
going
your own
there.
fault, yeah.
I don't know if you guys can sense this, but I sense that if Jake was there, they would never have gotten that far.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think that's
either.
why Eddie told Jake, like,
Jake has the touch. Yeah.
He would just immediately have sniffed that out.
Yeah.
So quickly. I just wonder, I almost wonder that, like, the entire scene only happened because Jake was sacrificed to save King.
Yeah.
And
But it was
kind of
What would have
interesting
happened if Roland died, saving King, and it was just Jake and Susanna going to Dandolo?
Yeah,
I
that's a good
don't
question,
know.
man.
I don't know that anyone would have gone.
I think they
Mordred
both would have
probably not
continued
have
the
been
quest.
stalking them. You know, White
Yeah,
Daddy
that's
wasn't
true.
there. Mordred might not even have any interest in that anymore.
Jake also is very jealous of Mordred because he views Mordred as kind of like a rival son of Roland, and he doesn't like it.
But I think they would have continued, and for Jake, he wants to see the tower.
Yeah.
But also, he knows if he continues on the tower, it is a danger to the Crimson King's plans, and Mordred would try to stop them, and so they would eventually meet. And
Also, if they never
have
went to
that fight.
Dandolo, Mordred would never have eaten the horse, which is
To be
probably
honest-
one of the main contributing factors to him being able to be defeated so easily.
It was.
Yeah.
That 100% was.
No, it was all Oi.
Yeah.
Well, it was.
Oi was a help
No.
as well.
You can beat the dead horse.
Actually-
you can beat this dead
No.
horse all day.
Listen,
but it was
listen.
all Oi.
No. Oi is the reason that he's the reason that Mordred was going to die no matter what. because of the horse.
Yeah.
Always the reason that Roland is able to continue.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that Susanna's actually.
But without the horse.
No, Susanna was already gone by that point.
So if Jake had the touch and he knew something was wrong there and they never went there because Roland was gone or because they just, weren't in the same mindset as Roland saying we need to save him, he may have never eaten that horse.
Yeah.
But how close would they have gotten to the cottage before Jake realized?
True. But they may not have ever gone in the first place because Roland was
Yeah.
the one that's like, oh, we need to protect these guys and let them know.
Right.
Susanna was like, just like, well, let's just fucking go.
Right. Yeah.
So
It's interesting.
So it
to
may
think
have
about.
it may have been necessary.
Also,
Yeah.
by the way, we might be talking about other paths.
Yeah,
Like other,
Yeah, maybe these things
cycles.
happen. Some of the other attempts.
it's something really interesting. But
Can
thankfully,
Roland win in a cycle where he dies halfway through the cycle? Like, can he gain redemption if
I
he
think-
dies halfway through the cycle, or does he always have to make it to the Dark Tower?
no, I think that we saw this right now because he decided to die for Jake.
He did, yeah.
Ka stopped him.
Ka stopped him by
So
giving him a bum
I
hit.
personally believe that no matter
can't.
what, at all times, Roland will always make it to the tower.
He will always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about the journey. Is all about is he redeemed himself enough yet, or is is he? We'll have to talk about this, but is
Yeah.
he gotten to the level that he needed to be?
death.
Right.
Death, but not for you, Gunslinger.
They
Never
won't
for
let
you.
him die. I think that if he tried to commit suicide,
Never for you.
something would happen.
Yeah.
Like the right thing would happen to
Man, I
convince him
I
otherwise.
forgot what movie
Yeah.
that is, but there is some movie where like a guy just like keeps trying to commit suicide, but it's like fate won't let him, and he's just like, it's like, come on.
Blank.
I thought that was the
Oh, wait, no, that was
the
a
groundhog. I don't know.
You can literally see that
he
in
does
this.
keep killing himself though.
Yeah.
You can literally see that in this novel because the Lobstrosities disarmed half of his bullets, so half of his
Yeah.
bullets don't work. He could just like try to
Yeah,
put a gun
right,
to his head and
right.
be like, "What the fuck, you stupid Lobstrosities!"
But anyway, point is
Yeah.
that Susanna saves his ass.
Yep.
Thank God. They kill a creature, which gets people like us in Keystone Worlds safer from monsters from Todash.
Yes.
Just in case they ever made it here, like in Derry. And then they find Patrick, the tongueless teenager.
Who's 50?
No, he's a teenager.
He looks like a teenager, but they say he's older.
Did they say that?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
remember that.
He looks like a kid. I know.
I remember
that
they were
much.
saying he's probably like
I'll find out.
16,
This one I
17
can
years
find
old.
easy. Go ahead.
I think we can all agree on the fact that that he's an artist.
He's the artist.
All right. So yeah, they find him. It's really horrifying what poor Patrick Danville has suffered at the hands of Dandolo. Dandolo was repeatedly
it's-
feeding off of his
messed
horse
up.
and also Patrick. And he was just going down there inciting extreme emotions in Patrick and feeding off of those emotions. So he'd go down there and he'd be like super funny and get Patrick to laugh, till he's borderline dead and then feed off of that. Or he'd go down there and he'd scare the freaking bejesus out of him until he's borderline dead and feed off of that. So he'd go down there and like do different emotions to feed off of him.
Because they're saying he'd go down
sustain
there
himself.
2, 3, sometimes 4 times a week
Yeah.
and feed off him.
And then they said that he did it less
Terrifying.
as the Crimson King went insane. The residents of Castle Discordia started to try
Fled.
to escape
Yeah.
while they could. And many of them found their way into good old Odds
Oh
Lane.
boy. So
And,
Dandolo had plenty of fresh meat.
Yeah, he didn't have to use them quite as often. That's what they were hinting at.
Yeah.
I did like the little hidden gem in the mirror that had highlighted parts of the Dark Tower that were what the scene was specifically based off of, which was kind of fun. I don't know if you guys thought that, but
I'm not sure what scene.
Yeah, I don't remember that
What?
section.
they find the poem, the entire poem,
Oh,
of the Dark Tower.
right.
and Stephen King had highlighted
Right.
sections of it
Yeah.
that directly related, and the entire
To
point
Dandolo.
of it.
Oh.
Yeah, the entire point of it in the mirror was in case Susanna couldn't get it, she would open it and read the poem.
Yeah.
But she had it beforehand, so she didn't need it.
Yeah.
But it was like an extra backup plan. So, like, you read...
Yes, it was direct evidence to warn them about Dandelo. Because it was like a poem about a starving horse.
Yes.
A poem about
it was
all this other stuff
yeah.
with Dandelo directly.
It was directly from
It was like the
Dark Tower
journey.
poem.
Yeah, Browning.
Child,
Yeah,
the child
Browning's
Roland
poem.
Dark Tower poem.
And he highlighted the very sections that were related to Dandelo.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap.
There was a
that's
lot.
creepy.
Yeah.
It was a lot, yeah. It was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that was neat.
But
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're introduced to Patrick. Real quick, kind of an important question out of the gate. Do you guys think Patrick Danville is a member of the Ka-tet, or is it too late in the game? It's just too late in the game.
I think the Ka-tet's broken.
Yeah.
It's already broken.
But
yeah.
I also still believe that Ka is still working for them.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just the Ka-tet's broken. The special connection, the power to work together is done.
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree.
And it's also the reason why Susanna was able to leave, and because
it's already broken. Yeah.
Right.
The Ka-tet has already moved on, as they say.
Danville,
Gone the way
however,
of
was
Gilead.
prophesized in the book Insomnia, which Stephen King wrote. And they tried to give that book to Stephen King, and he just kind of gave it away.
Yeah. Said he felt tricksy or something.
Yeah, it felt tricksy. There
Roland
was
felt
misinformation.
Yeah.
The reality is, though, that Patrick Danville, the reason that book happened is, and readers, you may have to chime in on this because I am yet to read Insomnia, but my understanding is that the entire plot of the book is that there is some crazy force trying to kill a kid, a baby, named Patrick Danville because of a prophecy that he will be the main factor in killing him or eradicating him later on, which is exactly what happened in this book.
Yeah.
That book came out much earlier, and then he was thwarted. However, it looks like we find out, as we do now, that Patrick Danville still didn't have a happy life, despite the ending of whatever book, Insomnia happened.
Yeah.
And we still don't know what happened to him after this book. He just kind of walked into the sunset.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't know.
He got reset. He gets to live it all over again.
Well, we do know that some forms of Patrick Danville are alive and well, but there was a form of Patrick Danville painting the moment that he saw, with Roland, like later on. So, but he helps, he kind of loves Susanna, right?
Yeah.
So he kind of helps her out, erases her cancerous sore.
Oh my god, this whole scene made me so angry. Get this.
I want to know.
This
I
kid,
want to know.
Patrick, I've been waiting all episode for this. That he has his power. Whatever he draws is reality.
Yeah.
Or whatever he erases is reality. He
Sometimes.
erases the cancer sore, it's gone.
Yep.
But now, after they figure that out, they're like, oh, draw this door. Wait a second. Why don't you draw Roland's 3 fingers back?
Or
Why
draw
don't you
Susanna's legs!
Legs back!
That's what I thought he was going to do. I thought he was going to draw her
That's like-
legs.
Oh, you're gonna go, let me give you some new legs. And you're gonna go fight the Dark Tower, have your fucking hand back.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
But
Here's-
he has his power, and he's like, no, I'm not gonna use it for you guys.
Here's why I
Dude,
think
that's
that.
an amazing point, Hitman.
Here's what I think. I think that they were so, in the same way during that time period, they were so in acknowledgement of the end that Roland didn't even realize that Susanna was wheelchairing her way through a door with one of the guns of Eld on her waist.
Yeah.
And all of the erasers. And it just... By this point, they didn't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah.
And also, if Roland had his hand drawn back, he would have just severed more fingers on the roots of that rose.
He would have.
Thorns of that rose, I should say.
But I also feel like it should have happened. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
You're thinking too logical. Kind of like
He just found
somebody
his-
who hadn't
he
been
just
in
found this kid who can make reality.
But you know, I challenge that he could do that all the time. Because I think it's moments that he can do that. They feel it, like when he can.
like, oh, I'm gonna make this buffalo 10 feet closer.
Yeah.
That's how I do it.
Yeah, they feel it when he can.
Because that's really important.
Yeah. He clearly has the power, but I mean...
Oh, he drew this picture of dirt and he smells it. Like, oh, this smells like dirt. And he's drawing that? That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could have done it
man.
if he wanted to.
Dude,
don't know if
I'm
it would
sure
happen all the
you
time.
guys came across this on that same
His
theory.
new legs.
Why couldn't he have drawn Eddie and Jake at the end?
Oh,
Had them
shit.
Be at the, and have them be in the final battle, so that the whole
I would say
content is
though,
complete.
I would say though he didn't know them. He didn't see
So
them.
he couldn't
could
draw
not-
them.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
couldn't draw them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
touch show.
That's a good.
He
point.
also,
would it be any different than what ended up happening anyway? Would it even be them, or would it just
Yeah.
be different versions of them?
we don't know,
Yeah,
right?
we don't
It's
know.
like
That's
what
hard to
is it?
say.
I don't know. It's hard to say, but I will tell you that Roland, his identity became his Machkand. He had been living with that long enough that it didn't matter anymore.
It might even throw him off
Yeah,
because
right.
he's gotten
Suddenly
so
he
used
uses
to
this
it, you know.
hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gotten used to it. It's like I don't know. It's like sports when you use like the proper glove. you know?
Except,
But then you like borrow somebody's for a game, and then like next game you gotta get used to your glove again.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
It's like
oh,
weird.
That's true, except for the fact that you don't aim with your eyes, you aim with your heart.
Yeah,
So I don't think it's the same.
Spoken like a
He's
true
bull.
gunslinger hitman.
yeah, but
You
obviously
know-
that can't be completely true because he had a fucking hard time of it when his
Yeah.
fingers were gone.
So what he really means by
Right.
that is that he's
But
so
I know,
good
but I'm saying
already.
he'll do it like he's probably holding it in a way that his fingers could
He's
get in
holding
the
his
way.
left hand only.
But it is a good point. There's a lot that could have happened, but remember, he didn't bring Insomnia. Susanna didn't read it because remember the old guy's like, well, even if you can't read it, my great goddaughter will read it for sure.
Yeah.
And then what happened? Well, he gave the book away to some other lady. And,
He gave it to Irene Tannenbaum. I think.
Irene,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Thank you. I forget her name all the time. And then Susanna couldn't read it, and neither could Roland. And guess what?
Yeah.
They found out very late, and then the first night they found out, Susanna was like,
Yeah,
Peace out.
Yeah.
"Done."
I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah. But, yeah, she left and she felt she had to leave, or if she didn't, Roland was going to fail. And it makes me wonder
Susanna?
like, what
I
would have happened if she stayed.
I wonder if he would have failed. I have to think about that a little bit. I don't necessarily think he would have failed, but I think Susanna would have lost her opportunity to be with Eddie and Jake.
Yeah.
Did
I
she
think-
say
for
in
sure.
the book that she felt Roland would fail if she continued?
I don't think he was going to fail no matter what.
I think she said that in the book.
Yeah.
Like, she has to leave, like,
No, she did feel she had to leave,
Uh-huh.
but she didn't say it was about failure. She said it's not for me.
Yeah.
So when that happens, she just feels Ka telling her no, like get out of here. Now's your time. But she
There's
wants to see the
existences where it
tower.
worked out in a worse way in the past. You know, they're like AI machine learning their way through this
Yeah,
journey.
maybe they
Just
are.
keep
I
doing
don't
it
know.
over and over.
But she makes it out, man, and she gets hot cocoa from Eddie and his kid brother Jake,
Yeah.
Yeah.
who somehow genetically have now aligned
Yeah.
somehow.
become
Somehow.
a perfect family.
Yeah.
My philosophy here is that Gan just made a little pocket universe and was like, reward
Yeah.
for being awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would
They,
agree with that.
they have sailed off to the the Elven land.
Yeah,
Like at the end of
like
Lord of the Rings.
there's no like basis for this one. Gan just is like, let's just take some of this shit and here you go,
Yeah.
Susanna, get
They
the hell
helped.
out of here. We need to get you out of the way because we're actually trying to continuously put Roland through purgatory, and you can't be there for that. So, yeah. Anyway, she makes it out. It's a very heartfelt ending, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
To me, I don't know about you guys. To me, it didn't feel quite the same. Like it's not like Eddie and Jake are alive again. It's like there's a version of them around.
Well, here's the thing that I like about it. Even though it's not Eddie and Jake, the same Eddie and Jake, even though those memories aren't there, the love is still there. There's obviously the connection, and there's still probably going to be the same heart.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I know that they will eventually get to the point together where they have that same connection. They'll get to know each other to that same level.
I'm good with that.
So I like that idea.
It also
they'll
really
get there.
helps that Susanna was losing her memory of everything that happened.
It's unfortunate, but extremely fortunate.
Yeah.
In the same way.
I feel
forward,
I
it's
feel
very
like it was a
fortunate.
consolation prize for Susanna.
Yeah.
That would be the best way that I can describe it, because it was satisfying in a way, but it also left you with a certain sense of emptiness in a way.
Yeah.
Like she didn't finish the journey, but she does at least get to try and reforge bonds with a new version of Eddie and Jake. And eventually they said Oi would come into the picture too.
The best part, probably.
Well, to me, it's
this
not
is something.
even... In my opinion, it's not even Susanna getting a consolation prize. It's all three of them, because Susanna's memories are gone. To me, she's no different than the new Jake and Eddie.
No.
If your memories are gone, you may be the same matter, but you're not the same person. But she's still the same person.
I think
the
point of it is that all of them are the same person.
Exactly.
But they're not
They're the same heart still.
They
may not be the same. Yeah, they're like the same. It's almost like all of us are people, are different versions, maybe connected in some way to some like core.
Right.
And that's, I think, what they are.
It's the same. Yeah, there's the same person, except they're lacking that experience.
the memories.
they went through
Exactly.
from the-
Yet they may find that it comes out when they don't understand why.
And you continue to have those experiences with each other because you want to be around each other because of who you are at your core. And all of these three are the same core.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a matter of time before they are them again.
Yeah.
Not the same them, but they are them. you know?
Yeah.
Which I like.
I would
I think
agree
that's
with that.
cool.
Yeah.
Either way, it's not the true end, though.
It is less like super satisfying than her going there and Eddie just being like, "Hey, where you been, sweet cakes? I've been waiting for you the whole time."
I've been waiting for you at the clearing.
I
at
don't
the
know
end
why
of the
he sounds
pack.
like a
Yeah.
1950s radio guy.
So, I don't know about you guys, what you think about this, but I personally think the torture the insane Crimson King got
Yeah.
at the end of this book, where he basically got his physical body cast into Toadash Land or question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all he could do now is be elevated eyes staring
A
out.
permanent
into the
witness to everything.
I gotta
Dude,
tell you, and he's already undead and won't die. I'm
Never
just
Yeah.
like,
for eternity. Could you
Yeah.
imagine that?
being a witness
That is-
to everything to eternity. You can't impact or participate or do anything to anything, but you have to witness it for eternity.
Basically, what's going to happen
Wow.
is that he's going to sit there for so long that eventually he starts going even more insane than he is, and his brain starts completely drowning out everything that his eyes are seeing, and he's going to create his own reality within his head.
so.
Which
For
is a
his
theory.
sake-
Which is a theory for our existence as well that some weird people have.
I personally hope so for his sake, because if I was undead and had to stare out among the
Eternally.
roses, I don't know how many times I would see Roland walk up and into
I know,
the
right?
tower. I would want to fucking kill myself.
But wouldn't you think that?
can't.
Wouldn't you think that he gets reset also? As soon as Roland goes through, doesn't he get reset?
It
Or does this
depends.
timeline keep going and he just goes to another universe and starts over?
That,
Like, is this
unfortunately,
Crimson
my
King
friend,
forever?
you'd have to ask Gan. But I wonder that Gan may have a hilarious side that he finds it entertaining to let the Crimson King sit around and eyeball himself to all eternity over the roses. All I can say is that death was, okay, anticlimactic, yes. However, just, probably extremely.
So here's what's going to happen. He's going to get reset. He gets his body back. It goes back to the beginning. But this time, Roland's got the horn, right?
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
time, once he gets erased at the end, and this is the end, and time continues on forever, Roland's just going to stand there and go, "Be
For all
Right in his
eternity.
face for all eternity.
It's like the soccer horn.
To me, it was amazing. So they started to like kind of hint at the horn. They were like hinting at it. They would hint at it in this book. They hint at it in other books.
Yeah.
And in the end, he puts his guns there, his sigil of Eld, to get into the tower. Sigil.
My sigil.
My sigil of Eld.
He just.
That sounds like a weird euphemism for your junk.
My theory is what?
I said, when did that happen?
Right before he could get into the tower, he needed a.
He just said everyone's names.
And he placed his gun at the base of the tower with the cross.
What? Yeah.
And the doors opened. And to get into the tower, you need something of Eld. Like some kind of a... Like, I think it was a birthmark would have been for Mordred. Mm-hmm. And probably the Crimson King himself. Same thing. But Roland needed to place his guns there. And there's an ongoing debate, like, he always has to place his guns. That's what he has. He only kept his guns. Mm-hmm. That was his personality. The guns. My question is, well, if we're going to do this, I'm going to whip out the theories. And I'm going to tell you.
Do it. All right. I think now is the time, Demon.
All right.
Let's do it.
So, the things that I have to ask you guys in questions, and I'm gonna lay them all right. So the first is, this is obviously a cycle for Roland.
Mm.
A wheel.
The question is it a purgatory until he renounces the tower and doesn't go?
Ooh.
Or is Gan making him worthy until he could arise to the top of the tower and run it?
And run it. Right.
Right? Is he capable of sitting at the top of the tower, and is it that? Or does he have to change enough to the point that he can earn the horn instead of the gun, and only a sigil of Eld that is not a weapon could make him worthy? The horn is another artifact of Eld that could get him into the tower that isn't to kill people. Something to think about.
Also,
for that,
also the horn.
I have an answer. How I think about that.
Mm-hmm.
That no matter what Roland does, that every time he goes into the tower, this cycle, he gets more experience, more knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
That anytime he goes into the tower, no matter what he puts down, it's gonna reset.
Mm-hmm.
And he has to do this cycle every time until he realizes that the tower is not what he wants. And
So
he has to
that's
stop.
one of the theories, right? So what I said, like he has to renounce it.
He has to announce it and
Right.
like either go through the door with Susanna at the end of the thing, or like sometime sooner.
But the Ka was telling Susanna not to go, so I don't think it has to do with that. I think that either Roland has to say, I'm not going, life's good now, we've got the four of us.
No, I think he has to go through all of that until the end almost. Until you were saying that the final battle was the
Jericho
King
Hill
and the Ka.
Oh, okay. Oh, Stephen King and
Stephen King and the Ka.
getting hit
The
by
final
lightning.
battle was the Beam and King. That was saving the universe.
But yeah, Stephen King from the Ka. And then after that,
The two.
I'm just imagining him just go through the door, and instead of having Jake jump in front of the car, he just mimics like a car horn with the horn. And he's like, oh shit, there's a car coming. And he just walks off to the side.
Or maybe Roland got really wise, went back earlier, got so good at it, he went back and that guy OD'd.
Yeah.
Instead of hitting.
but,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know.
Wow.
I feel
This is
like
pretty
he gets through
incredible,
all this
man.
stuff, and then get to that point where you can continue by yourself or go with your Ka-tet.
Yeah. I feel like his ultimate decision needs to be what's yours?
And then that's the end. He'll break the cycle once he goes with his
With the
Ka-tet
Ka-tet, yeah.
instead of the tower,
Yeah.
because it's just gonna reset when he goes to the tower.
But do you think he needs to go with Susanna to go up with the Ka-tet, or do you think they all need to
I'm not
have
sure,
one
like,
where it's
That's
like
what I was gonna
where it's
say,
a perfect
is-
game and they all need to live?
The thing is, that's what I was going to
I'm
say.
not sure
They
what
have
that
to
is,
do the
yeah.
game. Like, the only way he's going to go with the Ka-tet is if the Ka-tet's still there.
Right.
And he even said when he was sharing water with them, they feel the Ka-tet breaking. But guess what? Just because we feel it, it's been known in history that we can defeat it.
Yeah.
It doesn't always break when it breaks. It broke this time. So my thought is the only way that could happen is if they manage to all
survive.
get through it.
Yeah.
And then save the universe. All of them still there. If they save the universe and it's just him and Susanna, what does he have left? He goes for the tower. But this time, he gets the horn back.
Right.
Because his personality changed enough with his learnings that he spent 3 seconds after Cuthbert died to pick the horn up. Very minimal change for a boy back then, but maybe something that would change his
A lot
personality
over
in the
time.
future that might allow them to make it all. I don't know. You know, I don't know.
I would
Or
like
does he-
to. I agree with all three of those theories. I think all three of them could work. What I would like to see is, I would like to see Roland reconcile his past, the irreversible past from the Wizarded Glass that he's not able to correct.
Yeah.
I feel like if there was some way he could complete his Dark Tower quest and somehow have the result be Susan Delgado does not get burned at the stake, his buddies don't die at the Battle of Jericho Hill, May just lives on somehow in some magical kingdom. I feel like that could be maybe Roland's magnum opus. Like,
But I think
where he doesn't even need to have a future self. Where
but
everything
I
is
think
perfect.
that's the purpose that Gan's putting him through this, because even Roland says it himself. Always to this point, not the point that we can make a difference earlier.
Yeah.
Always to the point where I have to make a difference now. And I think the
Yeah.
purpose of that is that he has to live with some of that and make a difference with the future.
with what he has.
Because he even said it. He's like, why not? Why always here? He's like, no,
Yeah.
not again. Why always here?
Yeah.
Why not when I can make an impact?
Yeah. I
So
wonder,
he blames that past for who he's become. But
I wonder
I-
if the point that he basically like respawns is always at the end of Jericho Hill. Because he
No,
can't
it's always in
change
the
any
desert.
of that. It's always
it's
in the
it's always in the desert. It's always after, and he's following the man in black, chasing the Dark Tower because all of his buddies have already died.
But Andrew
And
does
he
bring up a
feels-
good point also, because that's where he respawns, but stuff from back here is different now. This time he picked up the horn.
Yes.
And that was before the desert.
Gan
Which
gave
was
him
Andrew's
that.
saying.
Gan gave him that. So,
Guy gave him that, or did he earn it from becoming a better person?
I think he earned it by becoming a better person, but I think Gan gives him a opportunity to change his regrets in the past as he becomes a better person in the future. It's kind of like, hey, now that you're 30, 34, 31, 28, what would you have changed when you were 16? Could you, if you had one thing to pick, what would you do? It's on his mind, right? As he was leaving, the horn was on his mind. The horn was on his mind. He goes through the door, he has the horn. The one thing that you would change in the past and he goes through floors,
He
floor
does,
after floor after floor of his past, and then he gets to a point where he just if there's one thing on my mind that I could have changed, and then he goes through the door and there it is. And then what's the new outcome? So how many times has he got to go through it? My opinion is like
Man.
every time he goes through, he's gonna get to change something. But
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that the next iteration is going to be it. It's just that there are changes for the better every single time.
Yeah.
And maybe it's only what he thinks is the better.
Right.
What if
Yeah.
he changes something and ends up being way worse?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm wondering because if you look at Roland as a character, you look at his past and his present and his future. And I almost want to say that even though the majority of the Ka-tet have died in the pursuit of the Dark Tower, for all of their cases, for every single one of them, the Dark Tower was a worthwhile pursuit. Because if they weren't recruited by Roland, Eddie would have ended up a junkie. Jake would have ended up an unloved aristocrat. His parents didn't give a shit about him. Or died. Susanna would have ended up a multi-personality split, lunatic. Oy would have ended up a loner in his group
outcast
in his group of Billy Bumblers. So it's like, and then Callahan would have ended up just as a drifter his whole life. So I wonder maybe if his whole journey is to help himself, but more so to help the other people of his future. Oh. Yeah, I don't know, man.
It gives him a purpose.
It gives him a purpose, and it seems to make sense for them.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
I don't know.
This is unique. Like, when do we ever finish a book and we have this many
questions rather than answers?
I can only think of watching movies like Inception.
Yeah.
And you're like, what was the ending?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know in the case of Inception, Chris Nolan has, I think basically said that if you're asking me what the meaning of the ending is, then you didn't understand the story. The whole point is the what is reality and what is consciousness and
journey before destination. And if you're not ending with that question,
King specifically wanted to do that. What are all these things? What is a life? What is purpose? What is I think he wanted the discussion around.
Was it in this series of books, or was it in his autobiography? He talked about when a lady on her deathbed was requesting the ending. Was it this?
I don't remember when, but
earlier.
Yeah,
but it was
earlier.
He was a lady on her deathbed who was like, "Hey, listen, I'm not going to make it another year.
Yeah.
I need to know. I just really want to know the ending of the Dark Tower."
Yeah.
And he was like, "I had no clue."
Yeah. I would have just told her. She's not going to be there to know he lied. I would have just told her something.
Yeah.
I would have been like...
Well, he was being honest.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making is whoa, that's kind of like the end of those movies. It's kind of like, I don't really know. I just wanted you to think about what was real or not.
Right.
And in this case, Stephen King has us thinking really hard about what the fuck was actually going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, you see the journey before destination theme that comes up.
It's it's also a theme that I take wholeheartedly to heart for life. Not just stories, but for life.
I think that's the point.
I remember when I was younger, I spent way too much time always thinking about the goal. And then it never feels good enough. You always have to just enjoy the process of getting there.
If you're not, then what are you doing?
Yeah. It's all about the journey.
Yeah. Very interesting.
If you're not happy without the goal, you won't be happy with it, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's crazy. I was so, I didn't know what to think the first time I read it. The second time, I obviously knew it was coming.
Yeah.
So it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, man.
I know, I could see
dude,
it,
the
building
audio,
up in
Did you guys all do the audiobook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you do the audiobook, Captain?
I did. Yeah, I did a combination of both. Physical
Dude,
reading and audiobook.
that voice that George does when he opens the door and he's like, no, not again!
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it gives you a heart attack. It's just it's oh, the panic that he delivered in that moment was
Yeah.
so much for the Dark Tower.
Yeah.
He arrives, that champion calling, and then he opens it and he's like, no. Just this panic, and then it came from Roland's voice, which he performed so well.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it felt so bad.
Yeah.
It's Ka's hands just pulled him through. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh.
I know.
Yeah. I definitely see the viewpoint of Roland having to go through redemption. All of this is a redemption. And there's an interesting theory on, I don't know who created it, but somebody came up with this theory of the cycle of 19, where Roland, by the 19th time he goes through this entire process, he'll get it right. All of the elements will be in place. Everyone will flawlessly sync with it. and then the cycle can end.
We were talking about that actually while we were eating dinner.
So you guys read about the cycle of 19
and we said, "Well, we're not right."
About it, but we just thinking about it.
Oh, you're thinking about it.
We were talking either that it was the 19th cycle or it was the 18th, and the 19th he has the
next
horn
one.
and he'll get it right.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like one of those things where like we were wondering if it was either the 19th cycle or it was. He's gonna be on the 19th cycle. Yeah. Maybe it'll be different this time, Gunslinger. You know, just whispers in his ear. By the way, if you do go back and read the beginning of the Gunslinger with that in your mind, it is crazy. After I finished this the first time, I went back and I read the Gunslinger.
Yeah, I might have to do that.
Dude, this whole
gave me goosebumps.
This whole series, I can think of like moments where it's going to take like a whole new viewpoint now that I know the ending.
Yeah.
Like I want to read through it again someday.
Yeah, like you said, 19 times.
Yeah. On the 19th time,
You'll get
I'll have
Dude,
the
how
horn of
hilarious
an
would be-
elf that is the explanation to this
Anyone
story.
who reads the Gunslinger, the Dark Tower series 19 times, there's like magic to the book because of Stephen King's new black magic powers.
Yeah.
When you read it on round 19 and you
die
get
of
to
a
the
drug
Dark
overdose.
Tower, no. On number 19, you get the real ending.
Oh boy.
Oh shit.
Wow.
That'd be so dope.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, that would be.
If I had the power to make a video game now, I really want to do one
That you have to
titled
beat
The
it
Dark
19
Tower,
times.
and you have to beat it 19 times, and on the 19th win, the true ending happens.
That's the true ending. Oh my god.
They did
Glorious.
make a video game that was basically, from what I understand, they made a video game that was basically like playing out the war between the Ka-tet Corporation and Sombra.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, something like
It's
that.
called
Wow.
Discordia.
Yeah, Discordia.
What?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. What's the manufacturer? What's the
No
company that
idea.
makes it?
I just saw it in passing.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow,
same
that's
here, Brett.
amazing.
Same here. Yeah.
Fun. Well, I think we're summed up for now. Any other last comments?
No, man, that was crazy. I really liked it. It's kind of cool because there are even moments now where, even though I enjoyed it and I was glad that he did it, when I was reading it the first time, there were a ton of moments where I'm just like, why? Why are we listening to this right now? Like, I like it, but why? It was a weird combination of like confused, little disappointed, but also really delighted that what I'm reading right now is also really awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it just all makes sense.
Yeah.
You know? It all fits to me. The most out there, just seemingly unrelated stories that we got little sidebars to all just make sense, and I have like a different appreciation for those books as well. All of the ones in the past. I liked it a lot.
Super unique.
And I loved the last line. I thought it was one of the best fucking book endings to a book ending ever.
I agree with you in the sense that, like, the first time I read it, I can't even describe how fucked up I was for a second. Like, I read that part and I was like, "What do you mean keep going?"
Yeah.
And then I read it and I was like, and then it ended and I read The Gunslinger immediately.
Yeah.
And that ending, I was like, no, like I just ended like this. I need to know. It was. I don't like the ending. I want to know.
Well, theory is we will know when Stephen King produces the Hulu original, or excuse me, the Amazon original. Amazon purchased the break. So the film was actually supposed to be a sequel because the first scene, which they fucked up every scene, if it was going to be The Gunslinger. Or anything to do with the Dark Tower. It wasn't a bad movie. Me and Brent talked about this for a while. It wasn't a bad movie as it was a standalone. It was not the Dark Tower.
It was not.
But anyway,
at all.
it had like everything that mattered in it. They just like ignored. It didn't matter. But anyway, the point is that it was supposed to be a sequel because he was supposed to have the horn.
Right.
Now, my thought is, and Amazon's thought is, buying the rights is that they won't fuck it up this time, and that this is going to start
The 19th
With-
cycle.
Roland on the desert
With the
with
horn.
the horn,
Oh,
chasing the man in
shit.
black.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if they bought it and then talked to
Damn.
Stephen King and was just like, what's supposed to happen the next time through?
Yeah,
And if that is
goddamn.
that
What's
show
different?
on Amazon, I will, thankfully already a Prime member, be watching it.
That
Dude,
would be
I will
actually
definitely
really
watch that
cool.
shit.
That'd be really cool.
That
So,
would be amazing. Yeah.
Now, granted, I will watch an Amazon adaptation of the original version too, but I would prefer that season 2.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, dude, that would be a series where they should do like a strong thing at the beginning where they're like, you really need to read the books before you watch the show.
Oh, dude.
The thing is, though, is
you
I could see it being good either way.
It will be
because
good.
there's going to be a lot of overlap, but it will be
Yeah.
able to be different enough because key moments will be able to happen differently.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like you
So like it'll be like Game of Thrones is on the last couple seasons, where even the people that read the books don't know what's going to
No,
happen.
the best thing about it is if you did it that way, you could follow the book, but you don't have to sometimes.
Don't.
And there's a
And
reason, to not.
And the book readers can't be like, man, the books are better. because
No,
they
they're going to
follow
be
the
like,
book."
I can't wait to see what
Yeah,
really
exactly.
happens on the
Because-
19th cycle.
It's not going to be a series about the books.
It's gonna
gonna
be
a series about the sequel to the book.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yet
Anyway.
it'll be similar enough
Yeah.
that it's
Because
still
it's a
is-
wheel. And then
That'd be so
Cosmere
cool.
wheel.
I really like
Anyway,
that.
so I was complaining to Brett for probably 3 months straight after we saw the movie.
Oh my god, that car ride home was unbearable. Jeff was drunk in the back seat, just constantly going, "How could they do that to this IP? How?"
Yeah.
So listen,
He said the word IP at least 1,000 times.
because that's what it is.
Because they probably had to pee.
No. It's
the
it's
intellectual property.
It is.
Oh,
Here's the problem I had. It wasn't a bad movie. I'm not trying to shit on the movie.
No.
It just it had.
This wasn't good.
If I wasn't expecting The Dark Tower, I probably would have been like,
If it
"Yeah,
was
this
just a
movie's fine."
standalone movie that had like inspirations from The Dark Tower,
Yeah.
it'd be something different. But this was supposed to be that sequel, and it was not.
No.
Right.
Even close.
Yeah. It was
they
a
had great
cheap,
actor.
a cheap grab to try and get association from the franchise when they should not
Seemed
have
like
done
it.
that.
What they should have done is have trust in the franchise, which would have made them millions upon millions more dollars. Because of how many people from 1970 to 2004 read this series, every single one of them is going to see that movie at some point. So what you need to do is give them a deliverable that will hook them for the franchise. And instead they delivered something for 13-year-olds who have never read the book. And that's fine if it's
Just don't
not The
call
Dark
it
Tower.
Dark Tower.
Dark
Yeah.
Tower. Exactly.
Yeah.
It was not a bad movie. Again, like I don't want to shit on everything in there. Like
It just wasn't the
it just
book.
wasn't the book. It not even that. It was not even really related to the book.
No.
It wasn't even close enough for me to pretend that it was related to the book. So
Matter of fact,
that's-
it was so different that I loved the movie because it wasn't the book.
and as long as they come out with an Amazon original series, then I will continue that mindset.
It begs to be made into a series. It's just way too. It's such a big story for movies. Like, I mean, Lord of the Rings was a big story, but this is a much bigger story. It's a longer story. You can't. Lord of the Rings was like perfectly executed and just barely worked as being able to be adaptable because of how long it was. This is like 3 times as long.
Here's my thought, though. I don't know why old Hollywood is still resistant to this because we saw it work in Harry Potter.
That's true. A bunch of movies,
Listen,
like 8
we've
movies.
seen Lord of the Rings. They were challenging it. They wanted all of the books in one movie, all the books in 2 movies.
Yeah.
Peter Jackson said no. How many times? And then it came out in 3, and they fucking destroyed
And look how
it.
much it's changed now. Now it's like, if we can't make this into 53 movies,
my
we're not going to
God.
buy it.
So but the point I'm trying to make is
Yeah.
why did they not see the investment opportunity of a 7-movie
And also
IP?
did not work with The Hobbit.
I disagree with you. I think that it worked with The Hobbit. They extended it too long.
Well, what they did is they took.
But I'm not asking them to extend it. I'm asking them to just give them its
space
natural space.
The Hobbit could have been 2 movies, possibly 1 out of like 2.
So but it was also 1 book.
Well,
whereas The Lord of the Rings was 3 books that they wanted to condense into one.
But it's a difference.
Yeah.
Also, there's a lot of...
But that's why in The Hobbit they pull from the Silmarillion. They pull from all kinds of historical context because they don't have the content to make into 3 movies. But personally, I loved it because I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I can live in that world as long as you want me to. You want to make 10 movies on The Hobbit? I will see every one.
Peter Jackson could make like a movie about him making coffee, and I'd probably watch it.
By the way,
that's awesome.
Sorry, folks.
Love Peter Jackson.
I did watch Mortal Engines.
Yeah, your name.
We're really getting
fuck all the reviews. I enjoyed it. It wasn't great.
I still need to check it out. I haven't seen it yet.
Spider-Man.
Ben, you
is amazing.
No, that's it. Ben, me and you, Mortal Engines. Let's go.
Yeah. I need to see it too, so I'll go.
We're going.
We have to go to the AM. We have to go to the AMC.
I think we should.
All right, folks.
All right, guys. Yeah, we'll talk about this later.
Let's end this podcast already on really the following line, gentlemen.
All right.
I just want to say this
really quick.
Wait.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Ben.
The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
That's what Andrew was going to say. Ben always stealing jokes. Cheers, folks.
Anyway, guys, I really enjoyed The Gunslinger.
Cheers.
And I can't wait to read the rest of the series.
Yes. With my horn this time.
Thanks again for joining us for this episode of Lit Literature. If you liked us, please check out our social media at Lit Literature 1 at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't hesitate to join in on the conversation. We appreciate the conversation, the questions, book recommendations, anything of that sort. Join in right on the social media websites. And don't forget to check us out at our website, litliterature.com, and our upcoming projects, though there aren't many now besides Lit Literature, you can find at lyket.net, Lyket. We do have a Patreon account, but if you truly want to support us, please like and share. Cheers.